SABC News. The African Perspective. We are on Open View's audio bouquet. Channel 628. On the Move with Benjamin and Palesa every weekday on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Good morning and happy Monday. I hope that you're having a fantastic day and a fantastic Monday morning. Wherever you are on the African continent, in the world and in the diaspora, you are in the right place if you are in search of the African perspective. This is Channel Africa and it's a time for On the Move with myself, Palesa Tau. We're riding solo today without Benjamin Moshatama, but it's always a good time when I'm with you because we are, we have the same mindset, we have the same thing in mind, and we have the same conversations that we will be having together in the next 3 hours. So welcome to the show and come on through to www.channelafrica.co.za. Find us on the Channel Africa app. It's a great one as well. And of course, the SABC Plus app is still there for you too. Our audio bouquets are DSTV channel 802 and OpenView channel 628. Taking a look at the conversations we'll be having today, there's been a story that's been circulating on social media here in South Africa. A young woman by the name of Lerato Molwelang, who has been trending on social media. She's a 20-year-old who says she was looking for modeling work on social media, and then she claims to have been exploited by a modeling agency who had her participate not fully consensually in sexual acts on camera due to, her looking for these opportunities. So we're going to be speaking about that in the first hour of the show. Obviously, we're going to be broadening up that conversation, and we're going to be looking at sexual exploitation, particularly in this day and age where there's social media, and it's also the same day and age where so many young people are hungry for opportunities. There aren't enough opportunities, there are high unemployment rates, and that really does open up a gap for these sexual exploitations to take place. So we'll be delving into that in the first hour of the show. And then a very exciting one, something that's also been trending on social media. In fact, I went on my own social media last week to participate and, give my views on this discourse that's been taking place about the boy child being left behind. So that's the African View conversation we'll be having this morning, whether or not the boy child is being left behind in today's society. And of course, we'll bring in two guests who'll debate that particular conversation. We wrap it up in our third and final hour in fitness and nutrition, focusing on something that is called food noise, which is a growing concern in the field of nutrition and well-being. And this is when, food, you thinking about food pretty much all the time, right? Intrusive thoughts about food that go beyond just physical hunger, that influence your eating habits as well. So we're going to be chatting about that in the next hour, in the final hour of the show. So stay with us. We are on the socials at Channel Africa 1 is where you can find us on X, on TikTok, on Instagram, you name it. But on Facebook, we are simply Channel Africa, and of course we are streaming live on our Facebook platform as well as on our YouTube. Welcome to the show. It's going to be a good 3 hours. This is On the Move.
Ahoy, matey!
Captain here to help, right, boys?
Set sail with us on a digital voyage like no other. Channel Africa has a treasure trove of awesomeness. That is our website and social media pages.
Tell me, why are you here?
We want you to be part of our adventure.
The winds are changing, Captain. And this time...
Imagine a world where curiosity knows no bounds, where entertainment meets enlightenment, and where every click leads to the African perspective. Visit us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, or follow us on Instagram or on X at Channel Africa 1. Go on, like us on Facebook at Channel Africa 1. So, spread the word. Tell a friend that Channel Africa's online variety is what they need on the web. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Are you fluent in French, Chinyanja, Portuguese, and Kiswahili? Are you passionate about radio? And are you looking to work in South Africa? Do you have papers that qualify you to work in South Africa? In that case, we might have an opportunity for you to work for Channel Africa. Send us your CV and demo at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Remember, if you don't hear from us within 14 days, it means you have not made it or you have not been selected. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Get set and be ready to go. On the Move with Palesa Tau and Benjamin Mushatama.
Now, so many things are happening in today's society. And one of the things that we're seeing is that, young people are really struggling to get a hand on the opportunities that they need to move in the world. And because of this, we have high unemployment rates, we have very low opportunities, and a lot of young people, especially here on the African continent, with the largest youth demographic all around the world. So because of this, across Africa, sexual exploitation of young people is increasingly shaped by economic vulnerability, digital platforms, and unequal power dynamics. What often begins as a promise of opportunity, a job, a casting call, or even financial support can also quickly sideline into manipulation and abuse. And that's the conversation we're having today. Just last week, in fact, there was a trending story here in South Africa of a young lady who went onto social media, spoke about the fact that she was looking for an opportunity in the world of modeling, got in contact through social media with a casting agency or a modeling agency who she says then exploited her sexually on camera. And that was something that also, trended online. That sexual exploitation was something that we could all be in full view of. So today we're unpacking how sexual exploitation takes root, how consent is manipulated or misunderstood, and why young people remain vulnerable to abuse. Joining us on the line is Professor Amanda Gous, gender politics expert. Thank you so much, Professor Gous, for your time. Good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to the listeners.
Well, it's a sad story to hear, but when I go to the comment section of this young lady, reaching out on social media and speaking about her experience, many people are saying, well, you're 20 years old. You should be, old enough to tell between right and wrong. You had an opportunity to say no. Why didn't you? Or you just wanted to participate. And there's a lot of victim blaming that happens. And the truth is, this is not the only time that the sexual exploitation is happening. Sexual exploitation has been happening for a long time and continues to take place. Why is this, Professor?
Okay, so I think we need to start with the terminology, right? So sextortion is the latest word we use, what used to be called quid pro quo sexual harassment. So I give you something in return for sexual favors. It's also now called sexual corruption because of the pervasiveness of this type of a phenomenon. And if we look at South Africa, and there's been a study done on sexual corruption in South Africa with a sample of 1,500, and this was a random sample, people, it was done by Ipsos. Over 80% of that sample said that they know about sexual corruption or that they've been victims of sexual corruption. So it's quite widespread. But the bottom line here is that what it means is that you will apply for a job, or you will apply for promotion, or you're in school and somebody says to you, well, I'll give you that promotion, but you have to sleep with me. Or the teacher will say, well, I'll make sure that you pass the test, but I need some sexual favors from you. And I think what we need to do is also to distinguish between where there is a form of organized crime where people will be lured with the promise of jobs, and then their passports are taken away, or they get to another country, their passports are taken away, and they actually become sex slaves, versus where there is sort of, practices like in modeling, where that's sort of expected of women to comply with sexual favors. But none of this is acceptable, and it's also illegal to do this. So I think this exploits the vulnerability of people who need a job or need promotion. And there's always a power dynamic involved in this, where the person who offers you the job or the promotion or whatever has more power than you do.
You know, when we speak about these instances or when we hear about them, that we think that the actual conversation is the sexual acts or the sexual exploitation itself. But there's so many underlying societal reasons why these exist. And those are the reasons that we don't actually focus on when these conversations come up. Let's speak about that. What are the underlying factors that make it easier for sexual exploitation to take place in our societies, and also that further exacerbate these instances?
Yes, I think if we go back to the hashtag Me Too campaign it was in the 2017, where Harvey Weinstein, who was a big Hollywood producer, was actually outed by an actress who said that this man has been raping and sexually harassing women for years. So somebody doesn't come to you and say, "Oh, you need that promotion. I need sexual favors." It will be far more subtle than that. Somebody will come and say, "Okay, well, you are beautiful. Come to my modeling agency," and then slowly but slowly, there's a grooming process of sort of making that person feels that she is the center of attention, that she's really, somebody this person is interested in as a model. But the person is not interested in you as a model. It's interested in you as what you can offer as sexual favors. And so women do not, most often do not consent to the sex. They consent to the job they want, or consent to what they need in order to get promotion. And that's why consent here is it's a very tricky issue, because in the end, if you've been groomed for a long time, you think that this person is also interested in you as having a relationship with you. But that is not about a relationship. And any consent that's given in a situation where there is a power differential, and where the person offering what you is something has more power, that consent is not truly consent. And this is what makes it so murky, because and why people blame the victim, because they would say, "But you've been working with that guy for 6 months and now you complain." So it's a far more subtle process in most cases than we think it is, and that's what makes it complicated.
It is complicated indeed, and I want us to delve deeper in that conversation of consent and choice, right? Because in this instance that I use an example, we're speaking about a 20-year-old individual, and people are saying, well, 20 sounds like it's old enough, right? You're not a child. But there are things, like you said, power dynamics that influence consent and choice. Do we really have a choice when these power dynamics exist? And how does that actually work?
So if we look at the study that was done, the majority of people who said that they know and are aware of this was between 15 and 35. So it's younger people. Very often they come from poor backgrounds, so they are vulnerable. And when you look at this, in the sense that if I say yes to something, it doesn't mean that I want to give you the sexual favors. But in some cases, people are so desperate, they need the job. They have to think about what will happen if I do not consent. So they either won't get the job, or they won't get the promotion, or they won't pass the test. And that's what actually very often leads to saying yes to the sexual favors, which then is constructed as consent. But is the problem that there is also an aspect of desperation, especially in this country where joblessness is over 70% for people between 18 and 25. So very often, you've now already paid a lot of money for transport to get where you have to go to get to the interview, and you will just keep going because you cannot come a second time, or you cannot afford to lose this money that you've already spent on transport and so on. So, I mean, and that's the vulnerability then that then gets exploited.
All right, Professor, stay on the line. We're going to take a break and we'll come back and unpack this conversation further. We're speaking about sexual exploitation, how it takes root, how consent and manipulation are often misunderstood, and why young people remain vulnerable to these kinds of abuses.
Conversations are happening, and Channel Africa is at the heart of them. We tell the African story with clarity, pride, and purpose, reaching audiences that matter to your brand. Partner with us and connect your business with listeners across borders in multiple languages and markets. For partnership opportunities, sponsorship, or sales, email us at partnership@channelafrica.co.za. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Hashtag on the move and connect with us.
Last year, I went on holiday with my partner to Madagascar. It's an incredible place with really friendly, amazing people. And one of the nights that we were there, we decided to, go out on the town. We were on one of the islands, not, in the main city. And on one of the islands, we go out on the night and there's a lot of tourism taking place there, a lot of European tourism taking place there. But what we also noticed as we were, exploring the place with our travel guide was that there's a lot of sex tourism that was taking place. So we're going out in the town, we're looking for a place to, have some food, a restaurant, and it's busy, the place is a buzz, and there's so many older men just in the restaurants, on the streets with these very, very young women. And as we had conversations with our tourist guide throughout the week that we were there, he kept telling us that, well, as a young lady in these parts of Madagascar, your only option for your life to become better is for you to participate in sex tourism. So young girls leave school before they even get to high school, and their parents, their communities encourage them to start sex tourism so they can help the family out, bring more money into the family. And it was really, really disturbing to see it happen with my own eyes. And I speak about this because we're speaking about sexual exploitation on the African continent and how it's been taking root, but also why young people remain vulnerable to abuse. Professor Amanda Gous continues this conversation with us. Professor Gous is a gender politics expert. Professor, I found this really disturbing, the fact that there was no other option for young women to become successful other than going into sex tourism. And one says that's a choice, right? They want to make money and they found an avenue to make money. But it's more than a choice. It's almost like a societal expectation for them because, when the rest of the family is looking to you to grow up and start making money for the family, you don't have much of a choice, do you?
Absolutely. And especially where there's the economy is very precarious, or there's really no economy to speak of that can actually absorb young people into jobs. Then for women and for men, I have to say that I was in Mauritius where I observed the same thing, but in this case it was a well-known thing that women from Europe come, and then the people they have relationships or this type of sextortion with are young African men. So that's, I actually engaged one of these young men, and he said there is nothing else to do on the island for young people who cannot find jobs, whether they women or men. They get into the sort of sex tourism, and I think this is very problematic, because what do you do if there's no other work to do, right? And then if you even encouraged by your family, and it becomes normalized. So what this is, it's normalized. But if we look at the psychological consequences of this, we see that what most and specifically women suffer from that does this type of work is shame. They feel ashamed because their body has become a currency. It's a currency that's being used in order to get something else. And it's also a dangerous type of thing to be involved with, because you can contract sexually transmitted diseases. Women can get pregnant. And these people who are actually tourists, they come and they go. They don't even know that may have fathered the child somewhere else. So it's really hugely problematic, and it puts all the responsibility on the shoulders of the young women who do this work. They have to take care of their bodies. They have to make sure of that they, for example, do not get pregnant, and nobody else cares about what happens to that body. And I think this is, when bodies become currencies, it's really, I think it's unacceptable, and where communities they normalize it, it's even more problematic.
Yeah. And the thing about it is that the same communities that normalize this exploitation to take place, and not just in the sex tourism, instances that we speak of, even, those who are looking for opportunities, the person who's left to blame is the victim themselves, because, everyone victim blames and says, you had a choice. Why would you go that avenue? There are plenty other people who take other routes towards their success. Why would that be the route that you take? What are the larger impacts for these individuals who are exploited sexually that remains with them for the rest of their lives?
Yes, well, I think the first problem here is that, when countries' economies is in a state that there no other work, then that causes a vulnerability, which means that maybe people leave school early, and in cases of sexual quid pro quo in schools, girls may drop out. So their skill levels are low, which means they cannot later in life access other types of work because they haven't finished school, they haven't been taught any other skills. So it puts that victim of sextortion in a situation that will last throughout her lifetime. So she will have those types of drawbacks. But it's also very problematic if it becomes normalized, because, as you've pointed out, it's then the victim gets blamed, right? That you have said yes. And if we go back to #MeToo, if we look at how many women then clicked, it was millions of women around the world who also clicked on this link that you could say Me Too, which means that, and many of them were professional women, some of them were professors, that they have experienced something like this. So it's pervasive. But if you're in a workplace, there's some grievance procedures and disciplinary complaints that you can make. But if you're not in a job, where do you go? Who do you report to? And what the study has shown is that about 26% of women have reported their experience of sexual corruption. 26% is very low. And the main reason that they didn't report was because they feel shame and they don't want people to know. So I think that we have to, and this is why the terminology has changed from quid pro quo sexual harassment, which means I give you something in return for something else, to now sexual sextortion and sexual corruption, because this is a form of corruption. And if we don't treat it like that, if we don't say that this has a public face and this is all about power, then we're not going to actually get a grip on this. And I think this is important, that we also raise consciousness, because in this study, 80% of the samplers said, I know somebody this has happened to.
Yeah.
So it tells you something about how pervasive this is. And I think, we need to make new legislation that also help in coming to grips with this phenomenon. I think, sexual harassment laws, there are laws, but they're not really coming to grips with this sort of transactional nature of this phenomenon, right? It is completely transactional, and for that we need new type of legislation.
Well, we'll leave it there, Professor. I think that's, a great way to wrap it up. It is a huge issue that's taking place, and one that's still going to be, I think, a societal challenge still for some time to come. But thank you so much for your time this morning.
It's a pleasure. And can I just end by saying there is now a global awareness of this, and there is actually international corruption agencies going to look into this. So at least there's movement on that front.
Incredible. That's Professor Amanda Goos, a gender politics expert, and we're speaking about sexual exploitation. Let us know what you think about this conversation on our WhatsApp line, +2783288 288 Let's get our latest sports news.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
We kick off with football news. The Confederations of African Football, CAF President Patrice Motsepe has expanded on the decision to cancel the African Nations Championship CHAN, the tournament reserved for locally based players. He first confirmed the move during his opening press conference at AFCON Morocco, and this week explained that financial concerns drove the decision.
You see, the CHAN is a spectacular money loser. The CHAN, not the CAN, the CHAN. And the first thing I was asked when I became president was, kill the CAN, stop it. And I wasn't going to do that because some of the member associations who do not have the resources and skills, almost 20 of them said, please keep it in, and that's why we had to allocate resources. And that's why the CHAN we had in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda was enormously successful. And I can tell you now, there will not be a CHAN. There will be no need for a CHAN.
CAF will introduce the African Nations League, the AN League, going forward, which Motsepe argues will feel like having an AFCON every single year.
You've got to have quality competition. You shouldn't have too few, you shouldn't have too many. But it's going to be world class. And that's why I was saying for the last 2 to 3 years, we've looked at this and we've also looked at the FIFA calendar. But the FIFA calendar is something that nobody, not even Europe, the perception that Europe dictates the FIFA calendar, it's a lot of nonsense. It's nonsense. I know because I'm I'm vice president of FIFA and I'm in the FIFA Council. Europe doesn't dictate. Europe competes to host competitions like everybody else, doesn't succeed at times.
On to rugby news. The Springbok Women's Sevens claimed the inaugural HSBC Sevens 3 title in Dubai with a 12-5 victory over Argentina. The South Africans finished the weekend unbeaten, winning all 5 matches at the Sevens Stadium. Zintle Mpupa's late try leveled the scores before Patience Mugoni crossed with a minute to play. Nadine Roos adding the conversion to seal the win. Earlier, the Bog women beat Poland in the semi-final to secure qualification for the HSBC Sevens 2 series, which continues in Nairobi, Montevideo and Sao Paulo. On to cricket news. England and Afghanistan recorded emphatic wins, while rain denied New Zealand and the USA in the ICC Under-19s Men's Cricket World Cup. England cruised past Zimbabwe by 8 wickets with captain Thomas Roux 86 not out and Ben Mayers 77 not out, sealing a comfortable chase of 209 in just 28 overs. Afghanistan overwhelmed West Indies by 138 runs after Usman Sadat's 88 and captain Mehboob Taskin's 77 powered them to 262 for 6. Nuristani Omazai starred with 4 wickets as the Windies were bowled out for 124. In Durban, USA's Niti Sudini lit up the stage with a brilliant unbeaten 117 against New Zealand, lifting his side to 253. But rain washed out the chase, forcing the team to share the points. And finally, tennis news. Carlos Alcaraz began his Australian Open campaign with a straight sets victory over Adam Walton on Sunday. World number 1, Alcaraz, needed just 2 hours and 5 minutes to begin his campaign in Melbourne, defeating home favourite Walton 6-3, 7-6-2, 6-2 inside the Rod Laver Arena. After a comfortable opening set, Alcaraz wobbled slightly in the second set, following a breakdown to the world number 81st, though quickly turned the tables back in his favour to claim a fairly straightforward victory. The Spaniard enters as the joint heavy favourite for the Australian Open title alongside main rival and world number 2nd, Jannik Sinner, who is the 2-time defending champion inside Melbourne Park. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fikile Lingwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Download the SABC app and take Channel Africa with you everywhere you go. Channel Africa is evolving, and so are you. Stay connected wherever you are with our brand new website and mobile app. Stream your favorite shows, catch up on African news, culture, and conversations, all at your fingertips.
Africa is just a tap away.
Your world, your stories, now on the go.
Stay connected wherever you are.
Visit channelafrica.co.za or download the Channel Africa app today. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Let's move on and get our latest business news.
Business news on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Good morning, I'm Nosipho Zuma. In your business news this hour, one of South Africa's political parties, Rise Mzansi, is backing National Treasury's decision to extend the deadline for public comment on the proposed online gambling tax to the 27th of February this year. Now, the party is urging all South Africans to participate in the process, saying the proposed tax is a step towards regulating an industry that has caused harm to lives and livelihoods. Makashule Ghana is Rise Mzansi, Chief Organizer and National Assembly Whip and MP.
We will make our return submission in full, looking at both the quantum as proposed by National Treasury, but also address some of the concerns that some operators have been saying using their lawyers and lobbying for no tax at the national level. We believe that online gambling, it's not just provincial, it cuts provincial boundaries, and therefore there needs to be a national tax on that. We are going to make our argument.
The latest PNet job market trends, which is South Africa's leading specialized online recruitment platform, shows there are high levels of competition and low barriers to entry for jobs that require low levels of experience and education. Now, this is especially affecting certain roles in administration, manufacturing, logistics, sales, and finance. However, demand for many specialist roles in engineering, finance, and information technology appears set to continue to outstrip the talent pool for the time being. A business development manager at Inspired, a recruitment agency with offices in South Africa and the DRC, Ruben Ralekwa, says lower jobs with lower barriers to entry are in demand.
They really know what they want. You know, sometimes you get a person who's just looking for a job, but the employer knows that I'm looking for someone who's very passionate, who will be, if I hire this person, will make a career out of the role that I'm hiring, not someone who will just use this thing as a stepping stone. And after 2-3 months down the line, I'm still left with the same issue again where I need to replace.
Libya's central bank has announced a 14.7% devaluation of the dinar. The move sets the exchange rate at 6.3759 dinar to the US dollar, the currency's second such adjustment in less than a year, citing the nation's political and economic turmoil. The move follows a 13.3% devaluation in April 2025, which had set the exchange rate at 5.5677 dinars to the US dollar. And finally, Libya has signed a strategic partnership with international firms to expand and develop the Misurati Free Zone MFZ that has attracted an estimated $2.7 billion in investment. Now, this is according to the Prime Minister, Abdul Hamid Beiba. Beiba says the agreements will help the project generate operating revenues estimated at around $500 million annually. The Misurata Free Zone signed the agreement with port operator Terminal Investment Limited, which is expected to help MFZ's port become a competitive logistics hub between Africa, Europe and the Middle East. The aid agency Oxford says that the increased wealth of the richest people on the planet is deepening economic and political divides as the world's political and business elite gather in the Swiss resort of Davos for the World Economic Forum. Oxford says the fortunes of global billionaires jumped 16% in 2025. Amita Behar is the organization's executive director.
This is a year where you see the billionaires actually reach $18.3 trillion of wealth. And just last year, they have added $2.5 trillion to their kitty. And that amount is enough to eradicate poverty 26 times over.
Your financial indicators: one US dollar in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 418, and Botswana is 13.22. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 43, and in Zambia it's 19.89. The BRICS countries: $1 in Brazil is trading at 5.37. Russia is 78 rubles 56. India is 90 rupees 25, China at 6 yuan 97, and in South Africa $1 is trading at 16 rand 42. $1 is trading at 74 pence to the British pound and 85 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $4,658 and platinum at $2,357 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $64.14 a barrel. Now, for any stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I'm Nusi Posum.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Across Africa, communities rise with the promise of clean water and clean sanitation. The African Union's 2026 theme calls us to action.
It's about mobilizing real commitments, securing climate-resilient water and sanitation projects, and ensuring that water becomes a driver of sustainable development and prosperity across the continent.
A landmark moment, not only for Africa, but for the global movement for access to safe water for all.
Assuring sustainable water availability for every home, every village, every nation. This is the Africa we want.
Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Ritmos e cultura. Com Jacob Tivani.
Fiéis ouvintes do Ritmos e Cultura, hoje em linha com uma das grandezas da música moçambicana, porque não? Ele que é um dos kings da marrabenta, uma bermuda in the building.
É um prazer enorme estar a fazer parte deste programa. Deixe-me só saudar. Boa tarde a todos os ouvintes que me ouvem neste preciso momento. Meu nome é Bermuda, de Alau Fanelo Estarapo, Gajo Aguda Daniela é Mabiscato. Eu vou saudar de uma maneira diferente. Ah, titavuya mwanango, tiduma tifika giane. Ah, titavuya mwanango, tiduma tifika giane. Ani motive lo ababa yena otiva mina haikonama. Ani motive lo anona yena otiva wa himbo. Cá estou eu, irmão, para conversarmos, para falarmos um pouco de tudo. Estou aqui, estou aberto. Eu estou muito feliz porque é a primeira vez que eu falo nesta rádio, falo para os ouvintes, então estou muito feliz.
Ritmos e Cultura com Jacob Tivani. Todos os domingos, das 20 às 21 horas.
No fairy tales, just the facts and the music you love on Channel Africa.
njena ngiyayincane ngizohamba nayo umhlaba wonke ngisesamba amazwe wonke
insizwa njena ngiyayithanda siphethe kanjena ngiyayincane ngizohamba nayo umhlaba wonke ngisesamba amazwe wonke
ekudinga la eduze kwami just you and I sondela time ubambela come let us move sondela line stick and moving everything your time stick and moving everything your
This is The Soil featuring The Legacy. Thandwandim is the name of the song. We're speaking about sexual exploitation. It's happening in so many different ways. You know, it was disturbing, on my trip to Madagascar last year to hear our guide saying, I would not let my daughters be raised in this place. And not because it's not an amazing place, not because it's not a beautiful place, not because, the people aren't incredible people. All of that exists, but because of the sexual exploitation. And in a place like this, she probably would not have any other choice from what she sees with her peers, from the society that we live in, for her to eventually end up in the sex tourism industry as a young girl and not finish school. So if I want an opportunity for my daughter to, go to university, to have a real career one day, I'm going to have to remove her from this environment. And that's a sad thing to say because, the actions of people can change, but the actions of people don't change. People continue to exploit others sexually and otherwise because of their privilege and because of their power over others. And what ends up happening is that we as a whole, as a community, as a society, end up blaming the victims in this instance. And I don't think we understand power dynamics as much as we should. And I don't think that we understand just how big of an impact this has on even us as a society, whether we partake as victims or perpetrators or not. But let us know what you think about this one. We are at Channel Africa 1. Go to our live streams on YouTube and on Facebook and go to the comments section and let us know what you think about this conversation at Channel Africa 1.
Annika Longi sur Channel Africa.
Comment est-ce que les militants et sympathisants du parti Les Transformateurs ont-ils réagi face à la condamnation de Succès Masra?
La condamnation de Succès Masra ne nous a pas surpris et les militants transformateurs ont été bouleversés et indignés étant donné que le verdict est un verdict lourd, illégal, injuste et donc face à la répression dans laquelle le peuple tchadien est confronté, les militants transformateurs se sont résignés de ne pouvoir pas sortir manifester manifester. Et donc, c'est une situation totalement absurde pour un pays. Et aujourd'hui, nous célébrons le 11 août, fête de l'indépendance. On pensait que le verdict allait être plus ou moins clément, mais le verdict est sévère.
Annika Longi, tous les dimanches sur Mix Vibration.
The whole population of Africa has been shocked to the depth of its soul.
For 60 years, Channel Africa has been the voice that connects the continent, telling our stories and sharing our vision with the world. This year, we mark 6 decades of broadcast excellence.
60 years of stories, sound, and connection.
6 years of African conversations that matter.
This is 60 years of broadcast excellence.
Rooted in Africa's heartbeat and looking boldly into the future. Join Channel Africa as we celebrate 60 years of broadcasting. Still strong, still vibrant, and still giving you the African perspective.
Channel Africa.
The rhythm of Africa, the pulse of the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Fire mata, I be go. Fire mata, I go carry go. Fire mata, I go scatter city, scatter town. Oh, Eva, oh, Eva. If I ever be your man, I go choose you before everybody. Oh, Eva, oh, Eva. If I ever be your man, I go choose you before everybody. Oh, 2, 3, 4. Call my number +234. What the hell are you waiting for? Fry my brain with your cooking pot, baby, no way to. Full import, sexy girl in a blue pin Porsche. Smash up girl, we don't need my funds. Oh my lord, oh. Oh, Eva, oh, Eva. If I ever be your man, I go choose you before everybody. Oh, Eva, oh, Eva. Fire mata, I be go. Fire mata, I go carry go. Fire mata, I go scatter city, scatter town. Fire mata, I be go. Fire mata, I go carry go. Fire mata, I go scatter city, scatter town.
Dans mon trône, il me manque une vraie queen. Une vraie. Mais n'a que là. Je suis tout à toi, t'inquiète pas, je suis sous emprise. Nana Kobalo, Nana Lela, Nana Yo. T'es ma meilleure carte d'Afrique.
Oh, Eva, oh, Eva. If I ever be your man, I go choose you before everybody. Oh, Eva, oh, Eva. Fire mata, I be go. Fire mata, I go carry go. Fire mata, I go scatter city, scatter town. Fire mata, I be go. Fire mata, I go carry go. Fire mata, I go scatter city, scatter town. Taxi lady from Africa, oh yo, original.
This is Oxlide featuring Fali Ipupa with Ifa. It's 9:54 Central Africa time. You're listening to On the Move with myself, Palesa, right here on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Speaking about sexual exploitation, would love to hear your thoughts on this particular conversation. And you know what's disheartening? To know that these things exist. And I think a lot of us know that these things exist. But every time a story trends about, a form of sexual exploitation that has taken place, what happens is that many of us just end up blaming the victim. I'm speaking about this incident that has been trending all week here in South Africa on social media, where a young 20-year-old lady went public in January, so just last week in fact, after an explicit video of herself and some other ladies, that had sexual content in there, went viral on social media. She went online and she said, you know what, she was misled by the supposed casting or modeling agency. She wants to model, she wants to go out there and, be part of an agency. And she was recruited by an agency saying, hey, come through, with a bunch of girls. We're going to do a shoot and see how it goes. And so she goes there. And if you see the video, I didn't go through the entire video, but I did catch glimpses of it. Also, that's something so disturbing about social media these days, is that you're scrolling, right? You have your own algorithm that you're hoping that, your social media platform sticks to, but you'll just be scrolling and these videos just pop out from anywhere. And some of them are so explicit. Sometimes they are violent. Sometimes they have, sexual content and they're explicit, and you don't have a choice, right? When you're scrolling, you just come across them. Especially if you see it trending, you don't know what's going on yet. So you watch for a couple of seconds or a minute and then you realize later what this is that just ended up on your feed. I don't like that. I really, really dislike it when that happens. But nonetheless, I came across it and you can see the discomfort, right? You can see the discomfort in this young woman's face when this video progresses and you can tell from the discomfort that this is not what she had in mind, that what was going to happen. But she continues anyway, and the comments then are saying, yeah, but you're 20 years old, you're old enough, so why did you continue? We watched the video, you just went along with it. We can see your discomfort, but why did you keep going for it? And that's where we don't understand how consent and coercion take place. And I think there's still so many conversations to be had about consent, because we think sometimes consent is just the word yes. But consent has so many other dynamics that play a part in it. And coercion can end up in the word yes actually happening, or a continuation that looks like consent taking place. But coercion is like subtleties that take place in conversations where this person is not enthusiastically saying yes or agreeing to participate in a particular event, but because of the circumstances and the situation that are taking place at that time, they just happen to go along with it, which isn't a yes, right? And the people that exploit others really do rely quite a lot on coercion and those uncomfortable yeses, those uncomfortable, going along with the situation because we're already in it, or I may feel in danger, or I don't know what my options are and how to leave the situation at that moment, as the fact that, you were there and you're old enough to consent, so this is why that took place. And because we don't understand these dynamics, the victim blaming becomes quite disturbing in these instances. And unfortunately, this can happen to anyone, right? This can happen to anyone, especially anyone who is vulnerable in a society like ours where people are unemployed, in a society like ours where people have very little choice sometimes to get to the places where they need to go. And sometimes in spaces where they feel threatened or that can feel dangerous. And now all of a sudden, social media also further exacerbates it by putting all our business online. And now you are in a situation where people have found you in this compromising position and you don't know how to explain that you were coerced and you didn't consent to these particular circumstances. And the rest of the people watching are like, well, it sounds like you wanted it, it looked like you wanted it, so that's what it is. But exploitation actually takes place so much more often than we realize that it does. And in the spaces where we feel like we should be trusting people, there's very little to trust out there these days. So let's talk about this a little bit more on our social media platforms. We've been telling you since last week we have a new WhatsApp number. So I'll continue telling you this so you can save it on your phone and engage us on that number. It's +27 83 288 6684. Well, on the other side of this, it's another big discourse debate that's been taking place on our socials. Is the boy child being left behind? We'll discuss that in the next hour of the show. Right now, it's 10 a.m. Central Africa time. Time for our latest news update.
SABC News. African perspective.
Top stories: the Sabah mixed reaction to Yoweri Museveni's election win, and the death toll rises to 39 in Spain's train collision. Good morning, I'm Cholani Tulo Mwepe. There's a mixed reaction to Uganda's long-serving President Yoweri Museveni's election victory at the weekend. This extends his rule into a fifth decade. The Electoral Commission made the announcement after a few days of tension. The vote was marred by allegations of fraud and violence. The opposition has rejected the results. Meanwhile, the internet has also been partially restored following days of a social media blockage. Channel Africa's Michael Arareng reports from Kampala.
The results for the presidential and parliamentary elections in Uganda have been announced officially by the chairman of the Electoral Commission, Justin Bakama. The incumbent President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who will on 26 January 2026 will be marking 40 years since he came to power, won again with 7,946,000 votes against Robert Chagulanyi of the National Unity Platform, who only got 2,741,000 votes. It was a big gap between the two contestants.
The South African Local Government Association, SALGA, is calling for urgent national action to strengthen disaster management systems. Government has declared a national disaster in provinces hit by severe flooding, including KwaZulu-Natal, Mpumalanga, Limpopo, and the Western Cape, which has also faced fires. SALGA chairperson for Emergency Services and Disaster Management Working Group, Mluleki Nkosi, says affected municipalities are struggling to cope due to resource constraints.
The primary hurdle is the misalignment between legislative responsibility and fiscal allocation. So currently, disaster management is often treated as a shared function, which leads to accountability gap. So there is also a reactive culture where funding is unlocked after a disaster occurs, rather than being invested in the prevention of disaster before it occurs.
The Action SA and the Democratic Alliance parties in South Africa are calling for an urgent investigation into reports that senior SANDF officials defied President Cyril Ramaphosa's orders during naval drills in Simonstown. The president had reportedly instructed that Iran be excluded from the exercises, but Iranian warships reportedly took part. Action SA's parliamentary chief whip Lerato Ngubeni says this is a serious breach of the constitutional chain of command. Ngubeni has written to the Joint Standing Committee on Defence demanding answers.
The statement is actually trying to agitate for the South African National Defence Force to come forward with that they would defy their own commander-in-chief, who is the president. The directive was quite clear and direct from the president, and we believe that the South African National Defence Force has a lot to do to be able to reclaim the prestige under the current minister, Angie Motshekga. And we really do not have confidence in her leadership of the Defence Force. And so we want them to come forward and let the nation know why it is that they would defy their commander-in-chief.
Political analyst Ntsikelelo Breakfast says leader of South Africa's economic freedom fighters, Julius Malema, must give substantive evidence to support his claims that his firearm case is politically motivated. Malema is set to learn his fate on Friday in the East London Magistrates Court as sentencing looms. This follows his conviction last year for the unlawful discharge of a firearm during a 2018 party rally. Breakfast says the EFF will face serious political implications should its leader be sent to prison.
What has tended to happen is that the ideological framing that holds the discourse of the party together is Marxism and Leninism. There are two subsets there. One is vanguardism. Two is the notion of democratic centralism. So the party has tended to do what I call political substitutionism. Decision-making has tended to revolve around the personality of Julius Malema. If he loses this appeal, it will have a particular meaning in terms of the strategic direction of the party.
Officials in Spain say at least 39 people are now known to have died after two high-speed trains collided in the south of the country. Dozens more were injured, with fears that the number of those dead could further rise. An investigation into the cause is underway. The BBC's Barry Caffrey has the details.
We have heard from the King and Queen of Spain, King Felipe and Queen Letizia. They said that their thoughts were with the families of the victims. They said that they were following the news of the disaster with great concern. We've also heard from Spain's Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez. He issued a statement saying that the government was working with the emergency services. He said tonight was a deep night of sorrow for Spain and all emergency services are working in a coordinated manner.
Recapping the top story this hour, there's mixed reaction to Uganda's long-serving President Yoweri Museveni's election victory at the weekend. This extends his rule into a fifth decade. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Jolani Tulo Mwepe.
SABC News. The African Perspective. Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802. On the Move with Benjamin and Palesa every weekday on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
All right, thank you, Jolani Tulo, for that news update. That's Jolani Tulo Mwepe, who'll be back in the next hour, keeping you updated. We'll also receive updates from our business desk as well as our sports. So don't you worry, our news team is always making sure that we are up to date with what's going on the continent and in the world. Another important conversation we're having today in the African View, that is our debate feature here on The Move. We're bringing two people who come in to debate a contentious issue here on the continent, and contentious the issue of the today really is. In fact, there's been so much discourse, videos from so many people. I myself actually went onto social media to give my thoughts on the views of today's conversation. Is the boy child being left behind? There have been rising concerns about school dropouts, violence, mental health, and shifting gender roles that have fueled claims that the boy child is being left behind. And two of our guests will come in today to debate this particular topic. Men's mental health and a health advocate and host of Men's Conference Podcast SA, Wandile Dladla, will be one of the two people debating this issue. Also, Kata Mina, who is a gender justice consultant from Sierra Leone, will be coming in to be part of this debate. But where do you stand on this one? I had my own clear views. You can check them out if you'd like on at Tau Palesa Voice on TikTok, but we also have our own TikTok handles here on Channel Africa, that is at Channel Africa 1, as well as on all our social media platforms. What are your thoughts on this one? Is the boy child being left behind? What are your opinions on this? And especially maybe if you're a parent to a girl child or a boy child, maybe you have, other issues about this particular conversation. But why are we even having this conversation? What's going on in today's society that's raising this concern? Let's find out in just a bit here on Channel Africa as we go into the African View. Our WhatsApp line where you can let us know, answer the question, is the boy child being left behind, on +27 83 288 686 and of course engage us on our live stream. We are live on Facebook, that's Channel Africa, and live on our YouTube channel that you perhaps have subscribed to by now. And if you haven't, go over there and subscribe at Channel Africa 1.
África. Conhece o Ntivani?
Claro que sou eu.
Ntivani é o amante da música de corpo e alma.
Eu amo música africana.
Ele aprecia todos os tipos de melodias e passa os seus dias a ouvir a Channel Africa. Okay. Adivinha só, a Channel Africa quer ajudar o Ntivani e os amantes da música em todo o lado a descobrir ainda mais música incrível. Por isso, a Channel Africa está a convocar artistas africanos a submeterem as suas músicas. Músicos, lembrem-se de nos dar todas as informações relevantes no Music @channelafrica.co.za. As submissões são a vossa oportunidade de ser ouvidos, mas não garantem inclusão na lista. Todas as submissões serão cuidadosamente analisadas para verificar se cumprem os requisitos da nossa estação. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Madapiri pazochitika. Madapiri pazochitika.
madotolo oposa 1,500 amene amagwira ntchito yaulere mu zipatala zaboma mu dziko la zambia azanyanyala ntchito lachisanu sabata yammawa ndipo daniel shabanda kutambasula nkhaniyi.
madotolo oposa 1,500 amene amagwira ntchito mopanda malipiro apamwezi dziko la zambia akuyembekezera kuyamba kunyanyala ntchito. ichi ndi chifukwa chakuti boma lalephera kuwalemba ntchito monga mmene lidawalonjezera. Channel Africa News yalankhulana ndi mkulu wa bungwe la madotolo la Resident Doctors Association of Zambia, Dr. Paul Chiwe, akugomeza kuti madotolo ambiri amene akugwira ntchito mu zipatala zaboma akugwira ntchito yaulere ndipo ali ndi chiyembekezo chakuti tsiku lina adzalembedwa ntchito ndi boma.
Zochitika pa nthawi ya 6 koloko kufikira 7 koloko madzulo. Lolemba mpaka lachisanu ndi Madapiri. On the move, weekdays, 9 a.m. to midday. Only on Channel Africa. #On the move.
Now, there's been discourse. There's been discourse on social media. There's been discourse in conversations. And the discourse here is people saying that the boy child is being left behind. There's been rising concerns around school dropouts, violence, mental health, and shifting gender roles that have fueled claims that boys are being left behind. Others argue that this narrative oversimplifies complex social realities and risks reinforcing harmful ideas about gender and power. Today we examine whether boys are genuinely being neglected or whether the claim itself is doing more harm than good. And that's today's debate topic for The African View. Are boys being left behind or is the claim doing more harm than good? Joining us in today's debate is Wandile Dladla, men's mental and health advocate, as well as host of the Men's Conference podcast from South Africa. Kata Mina is also joining us on the line, who's a gender justice consultant, joining us from Sierra Leone. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us on the line. It's an incredibly important conversation to have, especially with the discourse that's taking place. I'm going to start with you, Wandile. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Let's hear your answer to this particular question. Are boy children being left behind, or is the claim doing more harm than good? Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity, and good morning to your listeners. I truly, definitely think that boy children are being left behind, because when we look into, for example, a simple thing that we've got here in South Africa is take the girl child to work. You know, what happens to the boy child? You know, when you take her into the office and you school her and you educate her, you put the girl child at level 17, and she's got no one to be a companion. So the boy child is, and I think it's strategically been done, referring to South Africa from the days of apartheid, moving into the new South Africa. You know, it's been strategically done to leave the boy child out of economics, to leave them out of the schooling environment, and to make it even harder for them to provide and do the 3 Ps as a man: protect, provide, and profess his queen. You can't do the first one if you haven't done the last one, and the last one doesn't work if the first one wasn't done. So strategically we've left the boy child out.
All right, I'm going to come to you, Katamena. Good morning to you as well. Let's find out your opening statements in this debate.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Hi, Wandile. I just listened to your points, and I think just starting, it's important to go back to what the statistics say and what the data says, right? I wouldn't say the boy child is being left behind. However, I will say that using a language like that then, puts us in a position where we're trying to we're trying to end patriarchy, right? And this is a system that literally oppresses, more or less, there's an oppression for women, right? Generally speaking, right? And if we go back to data, we know that there has been years and years of inequalities when we talk about girls and where girls are and at what stage girls are, girls and women, right? So most times when you see things, for example, like bring your daughter to work, that if you go back to reading, why is that important? Is to show girls that, this is an avenue where you can aspire to be this, because for years, girls could not aspire. There's child marriage, there's teenage pregnancy. So things like that is something we call in gender studies affirmative actions, where you show girls that this is also a reality. Because in the world that we live in, boys are advantaged, right? This is not to say individual boys do not have a disadvantage. They do. And that's why the conversation should not be based on are boys left behind or are girls in front. No, it's how do we dismantle patriarchy that allows us to even make systems or programs or whatever that puts, we have to pay particular attention to girls based on data, based on our experiences, based on inequality, based on years and years of oppression, that we're saying that because it takes us at least 130 years to get to equality, we have to start with the girl child. And starting with the girl child because she becomes a woman, that means is we have to be intentional when we're running programs for girls to have them come to that point where we can say this is an equitable ground for girls to work with boys. Again, I would not frame it as boys being left behind. I will frame it as an intentional act to ensure that we get to equality. So I think men like you, for example, Wandile, I feel like you should be at the forefront of educating boys. Yeah, I think it's also on us as humans, away from our gender, to educate boys to ensure that they're learning that this is a different world, that girls are having programs that are continuing to empower them and give them power to show up in different ways, and boys should also understand that the dynamics are changing. And I think it's on men who are progressive to also learn that. I'll pause for here.
Kata, thank you so much. Wandile, let's come back to you. Right from the beginning of Kata's statement, she mentioned the term patriarchy. And with that mention, this is a systematic conversation that she's now having. What are your thoughts on this one from the systematic point of view of patriarchy as a system that's been existing for centuries in this conversation?
I think that if we go back to the origins of Africa and we understand where we come from as Africans, we know very well, Guti, women sit very high, in terms of leadership. We had female kings here, and there was a lot of thought that went into it. This is a Western idea of patriarchy. Where in the African space, even in African spirituality, we teach with the mother spirit sits at the top of that triangle. So the feminine energy ranks the highest. So I don't even want to talk about patriarchy because it's not a system of ours. It's something that we need to work together as Black men, Black female, to push out of our systems, to go back to our systems. So I believe that we need to teach boy children from a young age how to love, how to be loved, how to be vulnerable, who to be vulnerable to. That provision is not a measure of leadership and but it's a means of keeping the home intact. So we've been taught things that are not us, and we need to unlearn these things and reteach it to ourselves. We need to unlearn that our cultures and our ways are evil and that they are dark. And we need to understand that our rituals kept us sane and they kept us connected to those that came before us, that walked before us. There's no ways when you understand the role of a woman in society and where we come from as Africans, will you ever put a hand on her and abuse her? You will never rape your mother, and you will never rape your sister. So when you look at women out there, you will understand that our biggest mistakes is we never groom the boy child. We leave the boy child out of grooming. So we always prepare the girl child for marriage. She's taught how to treat a man, how to give him food, how to take care of him. And the boy child goes, make sure she's fed. And that's the only thing that he's given. And we need to stop this. Men like myself, I agree with that one point, only with that one point, Kata, that we need to, progressive men need to step in and take care and groom these boy children and say, I see you. I hear you and I feel you. And from there on, set the ground for boy children, because I only learned what being a man was when I became a father, because I didn't have an example. My father didn't father me. He didn't take me through the stages of manhood. So I call it active learning. I was learning how to be that man and also learning how to be a father. And a lot of boys are going through this, and they're going to go through this unless we change the narrative.
All right, interesting. We need to take a break, so both of you stay on the line. I'm very interested to find out about your point, Wandile, after the break. Are you saying patriarchy does not exist on the African continent, even though some of the examples that you actually gave speak very well to patriarchy, how women are taught to be groomed to take care of a man in a young age? That sounds a lot like patriarchy to me. So I wanted to understand your point a little bit further when it comes to that, but I also want to hear Kata's rebut to what you just said after the break. Let's hear from you. Are boy children being left behind, or do such utterances actually cause more harm than good? Let us know at Channel Africa 1.
Are you fluent in French, Chinyanja, Portuguese, and Kiswahili? Are you passionate about radio? And are you looking to work in South Africa? Do you have papers that qualify you to work in South Africa? In that case, we might have an opportunity for you to work for Channel Africa. Send us your CV and demo at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Remember, if you don't hear from us within 14 days, it means you have not made it or you have not been selected. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Hashtag on the move and connect with us.
All right, it's a heated debate this morning. Are boy children being left behind, or does this claim do more harm than good in our societies? This is the African View, where we bring two people to debate a very contentious conversation on the African continent. Joining us today on this one and continuing the debate is Wandile Dladla, men's mental and heal advocate and host of Men's Conference podcast, as well as Kata Mina, who is a gender justice consultant. Wandile, I posed the question to you before we went on a break. You said you don't even want to delve deeper into patriarchy because those are not our ancestral systems here on the African continent. Does that mean you're saying that patriarchy has not existed and does not exist on the continent?
No, it does exist. And that's what I'm pointing to, is that we've learned this and we've put it into our systems and we've practiced it in our homes. And we now ride on it as if it's ancestral and that it is part of who we are. It is something that was taught to us. And if you learn something, you can very easily unlearn it with intention. So we need to come together as Africa and say, this is not working for us. This is not growing us. This is actually setting us back. There are a lot of things that we need to fix as Africans, for Africa, by Africa. And if we do not fix it, we will give it to the next generation to carry forward. So it's like the poverty mentality in Africa. If we don't fix it now, we're going to teach our children poor ways.
Kata, Wandile does says, yes, I do acknowledge these systems are in place here on the African continent, but still stands firm in the fact that, the boy child is being left behind. Giving an example that he's a boy child that felt left behind. His own father wasn't there in his life and he had to learn a lot of things through lives and its challenges. Also, he spoke about the grooming of women to become, adults that are able to take care of the family and the man, but the man isn't giving the same things. Is he proving the point of patriarchy and how the boy child may or may not being left behind? What do you say to this?
Right. I think Wandile and I literally on the same point. I just want to say that he has made my points for me in terms of, when we're talking about patriarchy. I am pro Pan-African myself, and I think, African history has shown us time and time again the feminine energy, right? The power of women, how women were, or what women stood for. And like you said, this is a system that whether or not it has existed, because even in our ancestral times, right, there has been times of oppression. But rightfully said that if this system has been brought to us, which means we have to acknowledge it's here, we exist in it. And because we exist in it, you think of, first of all, when you see a girl child, the first thing that comes to a lot of African homes and African minds is, like you spoke about marriage. How are we going to groom her to be a good wife? How are we going to groom her to be a good woman, right? Why don't we think about her beyond a wife duty? Why is she not seen as a person, for example, that can be a president? Why is she not seen as somebody that can lead, right? Why is she, first of all, seen as a wife? Why are you even thinking about that? Why are you not thinking of grooming boys to be husbands? But then you're grooming them, as you said, to be protectors. And I was reading something that said yesterday that women have always been protectors. We just don't claim it in the ways that men claim it. Because, for example, if a woman sees a child in harm, she runs. She doesn't look back. Like, this is her protecting her child, right? But we don't claim it in those ways. And it's because of systems like patriarchy that we're talking about. And we have to acknowledge that if we live in a patriarchal world, we then have to dismantle patriarchy. We then also have to unlearn it, right? That this is not natural. This is not normal. There's something fundamentally wrong in this. But in this patriarchal world, the evidence shows that women are disproportionately disadvantaged. Girls, to be a girl basically means to resist. From the time you were born, you're resisting. Like, again, if we go back to education, for example, if we go down to it, in primary school, when girls start going to school, before they become adolescents, right, before their body changes, they thrive in school. The data shows that girls will do so well in school, but by the time they start body changes, right, then there are other pressures. She has to care. She has to, there's menstruation coming in, first of all. That's in some homes that people don't even talk about it then, which means girls miss schools because they're on their period, because they're not provided care during their period, right? There's also, like what you said, child marriage. There is teenage pregnancy. There are all those things that compound on the girls. So by the time she's going through all of those changes and all of the changes in our society and all the pressure put on her based on the system, right? And this is why when we're talking about these issues, then we talk about systemic change. We don't talk about individual changes. And I'm with you. And I acknowledge your experience as a man who was not groomed at home. And I think in an ideal world, we will all be groomed. We will all groom children based on their ability. Show them love. Love will be the center of it, not their gender. So if my grooming means that when my parents see me and they see that my strength is in speaking, they will then encourage me to speak. Nobody will tell me, because you're a girl, you have to be quiet. Girls are not supposed to be loud. You know what I mean? So I think we're all, you and I, are moving towards the same pace and acknowledging the same thing, that some of these things were brought into our society. And because they're brought into our society, it has to be an intentional systemic change of, first of all, getting rid of patriarchy and showing boys and girls that this is not normal, that in a normal world, that boys are not over girls or girls are not over boys, that they're different in the ways they're made up, but that does not mean their capacity or their ability is different, that they can aspire in the same ways that boys can aspire, that girls could aspire.
All right, Wandile, we're about to wrap up, but let me get your closing statements on this. Essentially, Kata saying, well, you're agreeing with me. You're actually proving my point that, this might be a harmful statement to make, that, boys are being left behind because of the systematic, issues that have faced women and girls throughout history because of patriarchy. What do you say to that? How do you rebut and, affirm the fact that boys are being left behind?
I think the first thing is that, because I'm a gentleman, I will admit to the wrongs of society. And secondly, I do not agree totally with that statement, because we are punishing boys for the patriarchy that was taught and brought on. And if we're looking to change Africa and change the way that we think and see ourselves as Black men, because the Black man that we speak of is your brother, he's your son, he's your uncle, he's a neighbor. And if you're looking to change that, I'm saying, let us treat these kids as equals. Let us take children to work, not take the girl child to work. I see drives in South Africa where pads are being dropped off at schools and everywhere. That's systematically excluding the boy there. And how do we involve the boy child there? Because he's also going through body changes. How do we include this drive to include, how do we make it a holistic drive? Because boys are feeling left out because girls are pulled to one side and are given pads and taught how to use this. How do we then get pulled in as men and say, let's equalize? I'm all for equalizing, because right now what we're doing is we're pushing the boy child to the corner. And that's why we're seeing the rise of GBV, because the frustration levels have pushed boys who've gone into manhood, who haven't been emotionally trained, whose IQ isn't at the highest. And they've gotten to a stage where they're frustrated, they're abusing alcohol, perhaps abusing drugs, and then lastly, abusing our sisters. So
all right.
I don't agree. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for this morning. Thank you so much to both of you. I think this is also one that the debate will continue, both on social media, and this is one that probably could have continued for another hour here on the show, but we have to leave it there. Thank you, though, to both of you, Katamina and Wandile Dladla, for joining us in today's African View.
Thank you so much.
That's Katamina, gender justice consultant, as well as men's mental and heal advocate and host of Men's Conference podcast, Wandile Dladla, debating on today's African View on whether or not the boy child is being left behind or whether the claim is doing more harm than good in today's society. Well, let us know what you think about this one. I'm pretty sure you have thoughts on it. +27 83 288 6684. It's 10:30 Central Africa time. Once again, time for our latest sports news.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
First up, it's football news. CAF President Patrice Motsepe has expanded on the decision to cancel the African Nations Championship CHAN, the tournament reserved for locally based players. He first confirmed the move during his opening press conference in Morocco, and this week explained that financial concerns drove the decision.
You see, the CHAN is a spectacular money loser. The CHAN, not the CAN, the CHAN. And the first thing I was asked when I became president was, kill the CAN, stop it. And I wasn't going to do that because some of the member associations who do not have the resources and skills, almost 20 of them said, please keep it in. And that's why we had to allocate resources. And that's why the CHAN we had in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda was enormously successful. And I can tell you now, there will not be a CHAN. There will be no need for a CHAN.
CAF will introduce the African Nations League going forward, which Motsepe argues will feel like having an AFCON every single year.
You've got to have quality competition. You shouldn't have too few, you shouldn't have too many. But it's going to be world class. And that's why I was saying for the last 2 to 3 years, we've looked at this and we've also looked at the FIFA calendar. But the FIFA calendar is something that nobody, not even Europe, the perception that Europe dictates the FIFA calendar it's a lot of nonsense. It's nonsense. I know because I'm I'm vice president of FIFA and I'm in the FIFA Council. Europe doesn't dictate. Europe competes to host competitions like everybody else, doesn't succeed at times.
And England and Afghanistan recorded emphatic wins, while rain denied New Zealand and USA in the ICC Under-19 Men's Cricket World Cup. England cruised past Zimbabwe by 8 wickets, with captain Thomas Roux 86 not out and Ben Myers 77 not out, sealing a comfortable chase of 209 in just 28 overs. Afghanistan overwhelmed West Indies by 138 runs after Osman Sadat's 88, and captain Mehboob Taskin's 77 powered them to 262 for 6. Nuristani Omazai starred with 4 wickets as the Windies were bowled out for 124. In Durban, USA's Nitishi Sudini lit up the stage with a brilliant unbeaten 117 against New Zealand, lifting his side to 253. But rain washed out the chase, forcing the teams to share the points. On to golf news. Spain's Nacho Elvira recovered from one shot down to claim a dramatic victory in the Dubai Invitational after Shane Lowry's final hole meltdown. The Republic of Ireland veteran had begun the closing round on a tie for second, 2 strokes off the Spaniard. But a birdie at the 15th lifted him into the lead, and the title seemingly his to lose, which he somehow conspired to do in unfortunate and cruel circumstances. He found both bunker and water on the 18th to finish with a double bogey, which opened the door to Elvira to claim the first European Tour win of 2026. Finally, tennis news. Alexander Zverev was forced to draw on his experience and resilience on Sunday as he came through a stern opening round examination at the Australian Open, recovering from a slow start to defeat Canada's Gabriel Diallo and move safely into round 2. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fidel Nwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. Download the SABC app and take Channel Africa with you everywhere you go. Channel Africa is evolving, and so are you. Stay connected wherever you are with our brand new website and mobile app. Stream your favorite shows, catch up on African news, culture, and conversations, all at your fingertips.
Africa is just a tap away.
Your world, your stories, now on the go.
Stay connected wherever you are.
Visit channelafrica.co.za or download the Channel Africa app today. Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
Thank you so much for that sports update. As usual, let's keep things moving and get our latest business news.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Good morning, I'm Nosipho Zuma. In your business news this hour, one of South Africa's political parties, Rise Mzansi, is backing National Treasury's decision to extend the deadline for public comment on the proposed online gambling tax to the 27th of February this year. Now, the party is urging all South Africans to participate in the process, saying the proposed tax is a step towards regulating an industry that has caused harm to lives and livelihoods. Magashule Ghana is Rise Mzansi's chief organizer and National Assembly whip and MP.
We will make our return submission in full, looking at both the quantum as proposed by National Treasury, but also address some of the concerns that some operators have been saying using their lawyers and lobbying for no tax at the national level. We believe that online gambling, it's not just provincial, it cuts provincial boundaries, and therefore there needs to be a national tax on that. We are going to make our argument.
The latest peanut job market trends, which is South Africa's leading specialized online recruitment platform, shows there are high levels of competition and low barriers to entry for jobs that require lower levels of experience and education. Now, this is especially affecting certain roles in administration, manufacturing, logistics, sales, and finance. However, demand for many specialist roles in engineering, finance, and information technology appear set to continue to outstrip the talent pool for the time being. A business development manager at Inspired, a recruitment agency with offices in South Africa and the DRC, Ruben Ralegwa, says lower jobs with lower barriers to entry are in demand.
They really know what they want. You know, sometimes you get a person who's just looking for a job, but the employer knows that I'm looking for someone who's very passionate, who will be, if I hire this person, will make a career out of the role that I'm hiring, not someone who will just use this thing as a stepping stone. And after 2-3 months down the line, I'm still left with the same issue again where I need to replace.
Egyptian high-end food retailer Gourmet plans to sell 47.6% of its shares in February in an initial public offering on the Egypt Stock Exchange. The retailer will sell the shares in private and public offerings pending approvals from the Egyptian Exchange and the Financial Regulatory Authority, with the price based on a book-building process. In a statement, the company said it will use the capital to expand its retail and home delivery networks and manufacturing operations. It now has 21 stores in Egypt. European countries have been discussing possible retaliatory measures as their dispute with President Donald Trump over Greenland continues. EU leaders will hold an emergency summit on Thursday to discuss imposing their own tariffs if Trump goes ahead with additional taxes. The BBC's Ketia Adler has the details.
The EU is considering imposing 93 billion euros worth of tariffs on the United States, or restricting the access of American companies to the bloc's single market if Donald Trump makes good on his promise to impose tariffs on any country that gets in the way of his takeover of Greenland, a territory of Denmark. The EU's retaliatory measures are being prepared to give Brussels leverage in talks with the US president in Davos this week, where the EU hopes to reach some kind of compromise. France and Germany's finance ministers meet in Berlin today to establish a joint position.
And finally, the Chinese economy grew at one of its slowest rates in decades. Now, this is according to figures released by China Statistics Bureau, which showed that the country's GDP slowed to a 3-year low in the fourth quarter. At 5%, the growth was in line with government expectations. The BBC's Nick Mesh has the details.
The short answer is exports. Last week, China announced a record trade surplus of $1.2 trillion. China sold $1.2 trillion worth more of goods and services than it imported. And that is in spite of this year-long pressure campaign from the Trump administration of imposing tariffs, threatening tariffs, all the trade tensions. It turns out that, yes, trade with the United States did drop, but China is selling to the rest of the world, especially here in Southeast Asia, other emerging markets like Africa and Latin America.
Your financial indicators: one US dollar in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 418, and Botswana is 13.22. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 43, and in Zambia it's 19 kwacha 89. The BRICS countries: $1 in Brazil is trading at 5.37. Russia is 78 rubles 56. India is 90 rupees 25. China at 6 yuan 97, and in South Africa $1 is trading at 16 rand 42. $1 is trading at 74 pence to the British pound and 85 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $4,658 and platinum at $2,357 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $64.14 a barrel. Now, for any stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I'm Nosi Posoma.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday, 23rd of July for Hard Talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and the whole country affected by gender-based violence. For all your favorite SABC radio stations, call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC.
Este é o Caleidoscópio de Canal África, com Remo Samo e João Yabalá.
A situação do ativista angolano Serrote José de Oliveira, preso desde julho, tem gerado grande preocupação internacional. Conhecido como General Nila e presidente do movimento União Nacional para a Total Revolução de Angola, Serrote iniciou uma greve de fome em protesto contra a sua prisão, que considera arbitrária. De acordo com a Amnistia Internacional, o estado de saúde do ativista está a deteriorar-se rapidamente devido à falta de acesso a cuidados médicos adequados. Para discutir o impacto deste caso e o estado da liberdade política em Angola, vamos conversar com Dito Dale, ativista e defensor dos direitos humanos.
Nós estamos diante de uma clara estratégia de aniquilar os jovens.
Porque quando uma pessoa está doente, deve ser assistido. Ao não proporcionar esses cuidados médicos, o que é que o regime quer? Não quer que esse jovem saia livre e com vida da prisão. Quer matá-lo.
De segunda a sexta-feira, das 20 às 21 horas locais, este é o Caleidoscópio do Canal África.
The rhythm of Africa, the pulse of the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Abaphansi sebevumile awungithi sekulojiwe ikhanda livele lidume uma ungekho eduze ismail samsaziwa kuwe wesithathe my love you osebethamile baningi bethi sohlukana kodwa lento yenzeki obathu baby ungidlisile kanti abazi ukuthi mina ngisemathandweni wowindizamshini baby Angizokutengela ipanoyi my love angizokutengela ipanoyi my love angizokutengela ipanoyi my love angizokutengela ipanoyi my love ufike empilweni yami nibethe ibhemile izinto zazingcono malamba nuvukile shuthi kusandana dali into vidale ngiyokuthanda ngiyoza ngivele egale inhliziyo ishaya kancane mangiziphimbo lwakho sandwa ngikhathale ngiyohlala ngingowakho wowindizamshini dali angizokutengela ipanoyi my love 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 awuthoma bengathi wena ungowami awuthoma bengathi wena ungowami wowindizamshini my love angizokutengela
That's Black Diamond, Ipanoi. It's 10:47 Central Africa time. We're having a conversation on whether the boy child is being left behind. I did say I had my own thoughts on this one, but if you just joined us, we just heard a debate between two people in today's African View who were having a conversation about this. The conversation was whether the boy child is being left behind or whether, this claim is doing more harm than good. We just spoke to Wandile Dladla and Katamina who debated this conversation. I had personal views on this one that I put on my own social media platforms. And I wanted to put this in a way that was personal to me. right? I have my own beliefs, of course, and my own thought systems around this conversation and many other conversations. And the example that I used was the fact that, I'm a mother. I'm a mother to a boy child, a 16, well, no, he's not even 16 anymore. How old is my child? He's 19, to a 19-year-old, right? I am a mother to a 19-year-old boy. And what I said in my own conversation about whether the boy child is being left behind was similar to what Qatar had said, right? Patriarchy is a system. And patriarchy is a system that has existed both on the African continent and across the world for so long. And what patriarchy does is that it entrenches systems and laws in place that keep a particular race or gender in a particular position. And in this instance, it's women, right? Patriarchy is a system, and not just, people saying, oh no, I'm not going to take a girl to work. Oh no, women belong in the kitchen. There are laws that still remain in place right now in 2026 where, girl or women cannot inherit their own homes, where women still have to ask permission from men, not just elder men, sometimes even their own sons, for inheritances, for marriage, in fact, just for basic human rights. There are still laws in place all across the world and here on an African continent that allow, men to marry children, child marriage. And I, in fact, call it girl marriage because there's never been a single instance when I've seen a child marriage take place where an older woman marries a boy child. And these are laws. Laws are systems that put in place to keep women in a particular position in society. And so when some of these things come into play that are affirmative actions, right? Like take a girl child to work, let's do a pad drive, etc. It's because it is trying to fix systems that have been in place for a long time and will still take a long time for equality to be reached. So I always say, for my own son, who's 19 years old, if he wants to rely on a system that kills people, women in particular, that keeps them behind, that, removes them from justice, social justice, equality in society and in communities, then I would say my son deserves to be left behind. If he wants to play the patriarchal game and just move on into the world like men have been doing for centuries. And that's just my own opinion on this particular matter. Let's hear yours. Is the boy child being left behind according to your own opinion? Or does this claim and these utterances cause more harm that has been existing in our societies than good? Let us know. +27. That's our new WhatsApp number that I'll be giving to you. +27 83 288 6684. Let's get your text and your voice notes on the topic of the day. It's 10:51 Central Africa time.
Je, una jambo lolote akilini mwako? Je, una shauku kuhusu maswala muhimu? Na je, una maoni ambayo unataka yasikike? Kweli, hili jukwaa ni la kwako. Piga simu au tuandikie kwenda WhatsApp namba alama ya kujumulisha 2760552594 na tutakupigia simu.
Mtangazaji wa habari zetu za Afrika Kusini mjini Johannesburg.
Hivyo unaweza kuwa mshirika kwenye matangazo yetu. Sio mazungumzo tu, ni fursa yako ya kuchangia maoni yako na kushirikiana na jumuiya ya wasikilizaji wanaotamani mtazamo wako. Tufuate kwenye mitandao ya kijamii. Tembelea tovuti yetu www.channelafrica.co.za na uwe tayari kushiriki na kuchangia maoni yako kwenye Channel Africa. Channel Africa, mtazamo wa Kiafrika. Zilipendwa na Abedi Jean de la Croix.
Leo tujadili kuhusu chipukizi wanaoimba nyimbo za wasanii wengine. Unadhani hili linatokana na nini, Omari?
Nadhani kweli kwamba tukizama muziki ya sasa, hasa wasanii ambao ni chipukizi, kwa kweli kwamba yani karibu kutoka muziki wao wenyewe, lakini wanakuwa wanataka kuhubiria muziki ya zamani hizo muziki ya wengine ambao ni hivyo.
Wengine wanadai kufanya hivyo ni kupromote vipaji vyao haraka ili waweze kujulikana. Je, yawezekana kukawa na ukweli wowote au ndio kukosa kabisa kipaji cha kuandika mistari?
Ndio, unaona kwamba msanii anapoazimia kwamba kuchukua wimbo mwingine wa msanii mwingine na kurudia yani mara mbili sivyo, haionyeshi kwamba yani ndio wanaanza kazi ya muziki aizalini, lakini ukiangalia kabisa asilimia kubwa utakuta kwamba wanakosa ile mawazo ya kutunga muziki.
Zilipendwa kila Jumamosi kuanzia saa 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati hadi saa 1 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
Move into a world of African music. This is Channel Africa.
Angelina, you the cool in my temperature. If you call, I go come deliver. I no go fall in your hand never. So now me you could love forever. I'm a cocky no feeble letter. I'm a Angelina, with my Angelina. Oh me all down. Anytime when I see you for the club or the television, your body. Sure you know say the thing when you carry 50 kill somebody. You know I feel a vibe, you feel a vibe, so baby whine about me. Yeah, and I know you shy, but it's cool when we're making love. On the low, 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 on the low. Angelina, you the cool in my temperature. If you call, I go come deliver. I no go fall in your hand never. So now me you could love forever. I'm a cocky no feeble letter. I'm a Angelina, I'm a Angelina. Oh no, so when I want to come out, make a signal you. Why you want to question on me like I interview? I'm tryna put the ring on your finger too. And be a better guy, be a better guy. On the low, 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 on the low. Angelina, you the cool in my temperature. If you call, I go come deliver. I no go fall in your hand never. So now me you could love forever. I'm a cocky no feeble letter. I'm a Angelina, I'm a Angelina. Josu. Big sponsor.
Channel Africa 1060. 6 decades of stories, voices, and vision.
If you know, you know. But if you don't know, you know.
Now you know. Now you know. If you know, you know. You think you ball us in town. Now you know. Now you know. Forget what they know them, yes. Agbabola. How much is money?
It's nothing.
Ballin'.
Alakwa.
Premium or nothing.
And them or nothing.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Forget what they know them, yes.
Come on.
Undisputed. Unopposed. Luxury or nothing. Money is talking. Money is talking. Blessings on blessings. Forget what I know them, yes. Agbabola. How much is money?
It's nothing.
Ballin'.
Alakwa.
Premium or nothing.
And them or nothing.
Now you know. Now you know.
Now you know. Better know.
Forget what I know them, yes.
Up
Flavor with Big Ball. And before that, we gave you Burner Boy on the Low. It's 10:59 Central Africa time. This is On the Move, speaking about whether or not the boy child is being left behind or whether this claim is doing more harm than good. Let's hear your opinions on this one on our socials. We are at Channel Africa 1 on X. Of course, use our hashtag On the Move. We're also on all our other social media platforms. So find us wherever you are at Channel Africa 1 on X, on Instagram, on TikTok, and on YouTube, where we are streaming live. And of course, comment there so we can hear your thoughts. We're moving into the next hour of the show. Once again, let's bring back Jwalane Tulongwepe for our latest news update.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thanks, Palesa. Top stories. Asawa, Mozambique's president cancels international trip to deal with the floods, and the UN Secretary General condemns the US's latest moves. Good morning. Mozambique's President Daniel Chapo has cancelled his trip to the World Economic Forum in Davos this week due to severe floods. The floods have damaged infrastructure and affected hundreds of thousands of people in the southern African country. A report by the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs says heavy rains since mid-December have caused widespread floods in Mozambique's Gaza, Maputo and Sofala provinces, with several river basins above alert levels. The OCHA report said authorities estimated that more than 400,000 people have been affected, with numbers expected to rise as rains continue. South Africa's Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa has welcomed government's classification of flood-hit provinces as national disaster areas. He says this is a critical step in strengthening coordination across all spheres of government and speeding up response efforts in the hardest-hit provinces. National Disaster Management Centre NDMC head Elias Sithole says that the classification is meant to direct resources where they are needed most. Sithole explains which provinces will be covered by the classification.
We've realized in the Eastern Cape, they were affected by floods as well. Northwest also, they were affected by floods, and then also KZN. So our classification covered those provinces as well, because we thought let's not only focus to Limpopo and Mpumalanga, because these other provinces as well, even though the focus now is more on Limpopo and Mpumalanga, but those provinces also, they need help as well from the national government. That's why we've included those provinces as well.
There's mixed reaction to Uganda's long-serving President Yoweri Museveni's election victory at the weekend. This extends his rule into a fifth decade. The Electoral Commission made the announcement after days of tension. The vote was marred by allegations of fraud and violence. The opposition has rejected the results. Meanwhile, the internet has also been partially restored following days of a social media blockage. Channel Africa's Michael Arareng reports from Kampala.
The results for the presidential and parliamentary elections in Uganda have been announced officially by the chairman of the Electoral Commission, Justin Bakama. The incumbent President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who will on 26 January 2026 will be marking 40 years since he came to power, won again with 7,946,000 votes against Robert Chagulanyi of the National Unity Platform, who only got 2,741,000 votes. It was a big gap between the two contestants.
Political analyst Ntsikelelo Breakfast says leader of South Africa's economic freedom fighters Julius Malema must give substantive evidence to support his claims that his firearm case is politically motivated. Malema is set to learn his fate on Friday in the East London Magistrates Court as sentencing looms. This follows his conviction last year for the unlawful discharge of a firearm during a 2018 party rally. Breakfast says the EFF will face serious political implications should its leader be sent to prison.
What has tended to happen is that the ideological framing that holds the discourse of the party together is Marxism and Leninism. There are two subsets there. One is vanguardism. Two is the notion of democratic centralism. So the party has tended to do what I call political substitutionism. Decision-making has tended to revolve around the personality of Julius Malema. If he loses this appeal it will have a particular meaning in terms of the strategic direction of the party.
The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said the US is ripping up the international rule book, believing the power of law should be replaced by the law of power. In an interview, Guterres called for reforms to the Security Council that would limit the veto powers of permanent members such as the US and Russia and better reflect the world that exists today. The BBC's James Landale has the story.
The Security Council is the most powerful body at the United Nations, with the US, China, Russia, France and the UK as permanent members. But Antonio Guterres said it was now ineffective and no longer represented the world that existed today. The Council's composition, he said, should be changed to regain its legitimacy. He also said the power of permanent members to veto decisions should be limited. Some, he said, were using their veto to frustrate the will of a huge number of UN members in ways that were very difficult to swallow. In recent years, the US has vetoed decisions on Gaza, Russia on Ukraine.
Recapping the top story, the SAWA Mozambique's President Daniel Chapo has cancelled his trip to the World Economic Forum in Davos this week due to severe floods. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Jolani Tulo Wepe.
SABC News. The African Perspective. Download the SABC app and take Channel Africa with you everywhere you go. On the Move with Benjamin and Palesa every weekday on Channel Africa, The African Perspective.
All right, time certainly flies when you're having fun. It's the third hour of On the Move here on Channel Africa, The African Perspective. We're in the third hour of the show, and of course, I've been enjoying my time with you without Benjamin Moshatama, but you have been keeping me company so well in the past 2 hours. We've been having really big conversations, and these are conversations that have shown quite a lot of discourse over the past couple of weeks. First, we spoke about sexual exploitation, tried to understand that better, and how it's taking root in our societies and has always taken root, in fact, in our societies. And in our African View, that's our debate feature, we had the question, are boys being left behind, or is this claim doing more harm than good? I still love to hear your opinions on these conversations. We are live on Facebook. Go there. We are Channel Africa. Follow us on that platform. And on our live stream, you're able to comment there. Let us know where you're tuned in from and let us know your thoughts in these conversations. The same on YouTube can be said. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Channel Africa 1, and comment under our live stream. And of course, follow and look at all the conversations we've been having before that. But we're going into another hour of the show. This is fitness and nutrition time. And today we're focusing on food noise, which is, persistent, intrusive thoughts about food that go even beyond physical hunger. But how does this impact our nutrition? How does this impact our fitness? How does it impact our diet and, its trends, but also our overall health? We'll be delving deeper into that with clinical dietitian and nutrition expert in just a bit. Stay with us. This is On the Move.
I found the joy through all the pain, I found the sun. And I'm finding my way again. I was down in the sea and wading in. I count my blessings. I rise from the deep, let the joy within. I know it's been hard, but I found my way again. Oh, we'll never end where we begin. I found my hope when it was lost. When it was lost, I held my heart out of the dark, out of the dark. I found the power, a brand new day, a brand new day. I found the power, a brand new day, a brand new day. There is a love I only know, I found the strength.
It's Angelique Kidjo. What a legend. She features Davido on this one. She's still got so much energy. I mean, all the features she's been on is incredible. This one is titled Joy. It's 10 minutes past 11 Central Africa time.
Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K
or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. Enjoy the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Channel Africa and you have got something in common. The thirst for knowledge.
Charlie, what happened? Hey, if you be rap, you be single. If you be anything you want, do a zonto. Do a lingo. Bad girl, go down. Hey, if you be rap, you be single. If you be anything you want, do a lingo. Do a zonto. Bad girl, go down. Hey, Kofi Annan. Let me see you do the Kofi Annan. Hey, Kofi Annan. Bad girl, go down. Hey, Kofi Annan. Let me see you do the Kofi Annan. Hey, Kofi Annan. Bad girl, go down. Hey, Kofi Annan. Let me see you do the Kofi Annan. Hey, Kofi Annan. Bad girl, go down. Hey, chapter 1. He come to my house with a bag of money and he said that he won. Take me to Paris, Australia and somewhere. Verse 2. I don't know what to say, so I'm speaking in a lingua. Verse 3. All my other friends, then they talk, then they sing, but right now. Verse 4. I won't talk to my men now, give me some space now. I won't talk to my men now, give me some space now. For my country, all the big boys wear bada. For my country, all the fine girls like Pena.
This is Yemi Alade. Kofi Annan is the name of this one. We're going into our conversation on fitness and nutrition. And today we're focusing on an interaction that we have with food. And usually how we think we're interacting with food is just by consuming it, right? We think that our interaction with food starts from the kitchen. When we get there, when we, are preparing what we want for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner. But our interaction with food doesn't actually start in the kitchen. It starts in our mind. Today we're focusing on something called food noise, which is a growing concern in the field of nutrition and well-being. Food noise refers to persistent, intrusive thoughts about food that go beyond physical hunger. And we're trying to understand this better today. Joining us on the line is clinical dietitian and nutrition expert Lerato Radebe. Lerato, thank you so much for your time. Good morning and welcome to Channel Africa.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure. Lerato, food noise. How are we interacting with food? What does this actually mean? Because the word food and the word noise don't seem to gel well together. Food is for eating and noise is for sound. How does this even come together?
Okay. Yeah, it's actually a very, very critical component of a lot of people, especially people who are trying to lose weight. People who have an unhealthy habit with food, like being overweight, for instance. And basically what it is your thoughts about food the whole day that are beyond just thinking about what should I eat. So for most people, what happens is, especially if you're trying to lose weight, you wake up in the morning and you're like, ooh, I wonder what I should have for breakfast and what is in the fridge. I think what is in the fridge, I have this in the fridge. And so if I have this in the fridge, I can actually make this. Then you log on to your social media and you scroll on social media and all the cooking and recipe reels pop up and you're just consuming all these interactions in terms of food. And then the whole time what it's making you do is think about food almost 24/7 unnecessarily. which is very counterproductive for somebody who's trying to lose weight, because those cravings that you might have are then amplified by 10 every time you're now just thinking about food. And the food thoughts, and looking at food and seeing food in your canteen, seeing your neighbor eating or somebody around you eating, and that constantly then makes you think, oh yes, she's eating a burger, I'd actually like to have a burger too, and I'd enjoy a burger and have a burger for lunch too. So that's in essence what the food noise is.
You know, my thoughts are, isn't this normal though? Because I think we come from the concept that we must eat 3 meals a day. And essentially, I think most of us feel, okay, what are we going to have for dinner today? Especially if you're the person who prepares the dinner in your home. You think, okay, let me look for some ideas because I'm so bored of eating like the same food all the time. And I'll go on social media and scroll a little bit. Okay, this looks like a great idea. A chicken pasta for dinner. I'll see a recipe and I'll do that. Aren't we all thinking about what we're going to eat next? What makes that different from this food noise that we're referring to?
Well, in essence, the biggest problem with it is that it can trigger cravings. So if you are somebody who's trying to reduce their appetite, it can trigger cravings. Then what it also does as well is that it makes you less aware of what you're eating. So a lot of people, their food recall of how much they've actually eaten that day tends to be not as accurate as somebody who does not have as much food noise. So you'll have somebody who's extremely overweight and says, oh, I only had an apple or 2 apples a day. But what happened is, in between all these small little thoughts, what was it a thought? Did I actually eat that apple? Did I actually eat that pear? Did I actually finish the food on my child's plate? Did I finish all of it? How much was it? So their ability to actually recall and digest how much they've actually eaten is then sometimes impaired. In terms of it being normal, it's also not normal because we're actually bombarded by too much variety in terms of food and eating habits. There's just too many options, and those options are almost the gateway to bad eating habits. We don't need all those pictures of fast foods every day. We don't need the unhealthy recipes that are put in place. We should be consuming very simple foods, as less processed as possible, and with less additives and additional things that we add to the food. So by being bombarded by like imagery of all that, encourages us to do it and add all those things and add all those extra foods, whereas just a simple potatoes that are chopped up with a bit of a steak and vegetables is sufficient for dinner. You don't have to go the route of all these elaborate recipes that then people are then deciding to do just because it was thrown in their faces.
I see. So is the issue here the fact that we are just thinking about food? I mean, for many of us who are on social media platforms, if you scroll, you're probably going to come across something food related. Or is the issue here the thought process from food thoughts to the action of what you do about the thoughts you're having?
Yeah. So it is that's why advertising exists, because we know that exposure links to then the behavior and the behavior happening. So maybe if we were bombarded by healthy options, and I also see these influencers who now go to takeaway restaurants and they're eating horrible stuff, and this is just daily what is being every second video on social media is likely all of this stuff as well. So unfortunately, it's the wrong types of foods that we are being bombarded by. It's the wrong quantities also. You have people eating huge quantities, and that does then translate into behavior with most people, and negative or bad behavior.
I see. All right. Stay on the line, Lerato. We're going to take a short break and then we'll come back to speak about that. We're speaking about something called food noise, and it's, the persistent intrusive thoughts about food that may lead to the actions of overeating and, dieting in a way that is unhealthy for you. Lerato Khadebe will continue this conversation with us after the break.
Conversations are happening, and Channel Africa is at the heart of them. We tell the African story with clarity, pride, and purpose, reaching audiences that matter to your brand. Partner with us and connect your business with listeners across borders in multiple languages and markets. For partnership opportunities, sponsorship, or sales, email us at partnership@channelafrica.co.za. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Keeping you on the know and on the move.
Food noise. It's the conversation we're having in this hour of the show for our fitness and nutrition conversation of the day. And this is the intrusive thoughts, the persistent thoughts about food that can lead to unhealthy actions when it comes to your diet. And we continue this particular conversation with Lerato Khadebe, who's a clinical dietitian and nutrition expert. Now, if you're having these thoughts, Lerato, if you notice, some of us are hearing some of these, words for the first time, words like food noise, and we're like, hang on, I actually do think about food quite a lot, and I interact with food quite a lot on social media. I interact with food quite a lot on my social media platforms and just in general with my mind, and that might be making me overeat. But I don't know how to turn my thoughts off, and that's a huge problem, because if it only had to do with us moving to the kitchen, I can decide that, oh no, I'm not going to enter the kitchen today and I'm going to just pretend like nothing exists. But I'm not really sure how to quiet down the noise and the constant thinking about food in my head.
Yeah. So one thing that you can do is be more intentional about planning your meals, and plan them like a week ahead in advance, which is a great option for most people, because then you do your grocery shopping once. Because also that's another place where people are then thinking about food. You're thinking, what's in my pantry? What do I have to go to the shop and buy? Do I have this? Do I not have this? So it's not just at the eating level, it's also at the planning phases and the purchasing of food, where while you're grocery shopping as well, you're then constantly thinking about food as well. So what I recommend people generally do is plan your meals and your meals ahead of time. Once a week is a good idea, where you're then doing your grocery shopping for the week and everything you need for that week, so that you don't have to have another situation where you're thinking about, do I need this? Do I have this ingredient? Do I have this at home? The other thing as well that we always advise people is never go shopping on an empty stomach or hungry.
Yeah.
Because you'll be then thinking about how hungry you are, and you're likely to then buy the incorrect foods and what you're craving, because you're then hungry as well. Then, in terms of that menu, you don't necessarily need to vary your diet as much as people think you do. I always recommend that you only need two to maximum 3 options for a week in terms of variety. So if you're buying your fruits, you don't have to have a different fruit every day for 7 days. You can just have 2 to 3 options that you're buying, and then repeat them until you finish them and you've consumed them. And then at the end of the week, you then know, this week we had watermelon, we had peaches, we had apples. Next week, I'm going to buy grapes, oranges, and a nectarine. And that's what you're going to do. It also limits your waste in terms of wastage. A lot of people end up throwing huge amounts of food and vegetables out because they've just gone off before they were able to prepare them. So just two to 3 options in terms of what you're doing, and then repeat that for the week, which then limits how much you're thinking, how much you then, the creativity that you have to try. It's okay to have that chicken pasta for 2 days or every second day and repeat it for 3 days until you finished it, and then you have then another option.
That makes me want to cry, Lerato, because, I'm actually one of those people like, oh my goodness, I feel like I've been eating the same thing and I want to change it up a little bit. But I'm pretty sure it's so different for someone who has, issues with food noise. And that does, create a little bit more consistency and less things to think about when it comes to food. But if there are people having challenges with quieting down their minds, I mean, just last week on the show, in fact, we were speaking about, overthinking. And some people are overthinkers. And even when they have, the plan and you've told them, yeah, plan your meals, eat the pasta 3 times a week, eat something else for the other 2 days of the week, and you might have a plan, but the noise just won't stop. Is there some other challenge that you might be dealing with here?
So yes, it could be mental health related. Oh, before I wanted to go to that, is that you can still have the same thing, but then switched up differently. Like for instance, today you can have a steak and roast potatoes, and then tomorrow you have a steak salad. So the basis of what you cooked yesterday becomes the new meal for tomorrow that changes it slightly, but you're not really having to change your ingredients that much. So that's what we're suggesting we do. But in terms of it can, what you're mentioning about any underlying conditions, that you can also be anxiety is linked to, and mental health issues in terms of anxiety, where you just have intrusive thoughts, and then your intrusive thought then becomes food, for instance. So it is of value to pop into your doctor, pop into one of your mental health practitioner's office and discuss those options with them. I always say as a dietitian that, for instance, weight loss has very little to do with food and eating, and most of the time is a discipline. It is a mental health and processing and dealing with mental health. Some people, it might be about trauma, where the food that they're eating is comforting, and the comfort of it and the comfort food that people are then. So it can be linked to traumas, it can be linked to anxieties, it can be linked to OCDs, for instance. So there is a huge component, a huge mental health illness component that does need to be taken into consideration. Once you've tried all of these avenues that we mentioned, where you're trying to quieten down the noise yourself, if that's not working still and you're still getting the intrusive thoughts, it is of value to pop into a doctor, pop into a psychologist, psychiatrist, and have discussions with them too.
Lerato, rumors have it that some people have been using weight loss medication, which suppresses your appetite. And they say that some of these medications have helped them with food noise. Is this something that one can consider if they want to get rid of the food noise, suppressing their appetite so they're not constantly hungry or constantly thinking about food? Or is this a conversation that is better left off to the dietitians and the experts like yourself, because it can be harmful?
So it is, it's one of those, which came first, the chicken or the egg? And most likely your appetite was increased by having the intrusive thoughts. So the minute you reduce your intrusive thoughts, you reduce how much you're thinking about food, you won't have the need or that hunger the whole time. So I would rather take an approach where you are rather decreasing and working towards decreasing the intrusive thoughts. Listen to music. That's another good idea. Like pop headphones on and have music. And in the day, if you're listening to music constantly throughout the day, you've got less time in that time to be thinking about food. In your times where you're not actively doing work, fill those times and those days with other activities not related to thinking about food.
Okay.
Tell your friends and family as well, because when you get to work, I always see, I work in a hospital where people, by the time they arrive at work, they're already talking about, what are we eating for lunch, guys? And between that morning and tea time and lunchtime, they literally just speaking about food. So have plans with your friends to say, we're going to bring our lunch to work. And so everybody, let's plan how we're doing, what we're buying. Let's do it together once a week, and we're not having to do it daily. So in a nutshell, I would definitely not recommend medication to try reduce the intrusive thoughts. The side effects do not outweigh the benefits when you have not attempted non-invasive and non-medical options. Once we've tried and we've failed with those options, that is something that we can consider, but we have to prove and demonstrate. And the other thing about it as well is that once you come off the medication, what happens?
Yeah.
A lot of people end up gaining weight with all this medication. They gain all the weight back ×2 because they never dealt with the underlying problem. And so that then just has them, spiraling back to exactly where they were once you remove the medication.
All right, I'm glad that you've put that to bed as well, because it's a very important conversation. People have been having a lot of conversations about medication, and sometimes we go there first without dealing with the underlying conversations before that. But thank you so much. That's all we have time for, and I think this has been an incredible conversation. Thank you for helping us unpack it.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for having me. Have a good day further.
Have a great day. That's clinical dietitian and nutrition expert Lerato Khadebe speaking to us about the dynamics of food noise. It's 11:30 Central Africa time. We've circled back to this time once again for our latest sports news.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Let's start off with athletics. Preparations for the upcoming World Relays Gaborone 2026 continue to gather momentum as the Botswana National Stadium transforms into a world-class arena poised to host one of the most prestigious events on the global athletics calendar. The relay will take place on the 2nd and the 3rd of May. Recent developments concerning the stadium's track and event coordination shows Botswana's commitment to delivering a successful and memorable championship. The event holds significant importance for the nation's sporting ambitions. The World Relays Gaborone 2026 is anticipated to attract over 1,000 athletes from across the globe, uniting the world's fastest sprinters and relay specialists. On to football news. CAF President Patrice Motsepe has expanded on the decision to cancel the African Nations Championship, CHAN, the tournament reserved for locally based players. He first confirmed the move during his opening press conference at AFCON in Morocco, and this week explained that financial concerns drove the decision.
You see, the CHAN is a spectacular money loser. The CHAN, not the CAN, the CHAN. And the first thing I was asked when I became president was, kill the CAN, stop it. And I wasn't going to do that because some of the member associations who do not have the resources and skills, almost 20 of them said, please keep it in, and that's why we had to allocate resources. And that's why the CHAN we had in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda was enormously successful. And I can tell you now, there will not be a CHAN. There will be no need for a CHAN.
CAF will introduce the African Nations League going forward, which Motsepe argues will feel like having an AFCON every single year.
You've got to have quality competition. You shouldn't have too few, you shouldn't have too many. But it's going to be world class. And that's why I was saying for the last 2 to 3 years, we've looked at this and we've also looked at the FIFA calendar. But the FIFA calendar is something that nobody, not even Europe, the perception that Europe dictates the FIFA calendar, it's a lot of nonsense. It's nonsense. I know because I'm I'm vice president of FIFA and I'm in the FIFA Council. Europe doesn't dictate. Europe competes to host competitions like everybody else, doesn't succeed at times.
On to rugby news, the Bulls have reached the Investec Champions Cup round of 16 despite winning just one pool match. After heavy defeats to Bordeaux, Northampton and Bristol, the Pretoria side edged Pau 26-24 in France to finish 4th in Pool 4 ahead of Pau and the Scarlets. In Pool 1, Toulouse crushed Sale Sharks 77-7, leaving the Durban outfit on the brink of elimination despite their 50-12 win over Clermont. Only a heavy Saracens defeat to Glasgow could have saved them. Meanwhile, the Stormers secure their place in the knockouts with a 39-26 victory over Leicester Tigers in Cape Town. Let's end with golf news. Spain's Nacho Elvira recovered from one shot down to reclaim a dramatic victory in the Dubai Invitational after Shane Lowry's final hole meltdown. The Republic of Ireland veteran had begun the closing round in a tie for second, 2 strokes off the Spaniard. But a birdie at the 15th lifted him into the lead, and the title seemingly his to lose, which he somehow conspired to do in unfortunate and cruel circumstances. He found both the bunker and water on the 18th to finish with a double bogey, which opened the door to Elvira to claim the first European Tour win of 2026. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Figile Lingwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. We are on Open Views Audio Bouquet. Channel 628.
Você é fluente em português? É apaixonado por rádio e quer trabalhar na África do Sul? Você tem documentos que o qualificam para trabalhar na África do Sul? Nesse caso, podemos ter uma oportunidade para você trabalhar no Canal África. Envie seu currículo e demonstração para Canal África @ newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Lembre-se, se você não receber alguma resposta nossa em 14 dias, isso significa que você não foi selecionado. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
All right, we have Nosipo Zuma back for our latest business news and the final update for the morning.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Palesa. Good morning. In your business news this hour, the 56th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum is currently underway in Davos, Switzerland. Under the theme, A Spirit of Dialogue, leaders from government, business, civil society, science and culture will gather to tackle some of the world's most pressing challenges, from climate change and energy security to technological innovation and economic inequality. Political economist Dr. Dale McKinley talks about the importance of the gathering.
Well, it matters because it's gathering the world's leaders, and particularly the world's biggest economies. And on top of that, I think probably about majority of the top corporations in the world. So basically the people who run the world economy, people who control a lot of the trade, and who we have relationships with, both in Europe and the United States in particular, but also Asia, are going to be there. So I think that's what makes it important.
One of South Africa's political parties, Rise Mzansi, is backing National Treasury's decision to extend the deadline for public comment on the proposed online gambling tax to the 27th of February this year. The party is urging all South Africans to participate in the process, saying the proposed tax is a step towards regulating an industry that has caused harm to lives and livelihoods. Makashule Kana is Rise Mzansi chief organizer and National Assembly whip and MP.
We will make our return submission in full, looking at both the quantum as proposed by National Treasury, but also address some of the concerns that some operators have been saying, using their lawyers and lobbying for no tax at the national level. We believe that online gambling, it's not just provincial, it cuts provincial boundaries, and therefore there needs to be a national tax on that. We are going to make our argument.
The latest PNet job market trends, which is South Africa's leading specialized online recruitment platform, shows that there are high levels of competition and low barriers to entry for jobs that require lower levels of experience and education. Now, this is especially affecting certain roles in administration, manufacturing, logistics, sales and finance. However, demand for many specialist roles in engineering, finance and information technology appear to set to continue to outstrip the talent pool for the time being. A business development manager at Inspired, a recruitment agency with offices in South Africa and the DRC, Ruben Ralekwa, says lower jobs with lower barriers to entry are in demand.
They really know what they want.
Sometimes you get a person who's just looking for a job, but the employer knows that I'm looking for someone who's very passionate, who will be, if I hire this person, will make a career out of the role that I'm hiring, not someone who will just use this thing as a stepping stone. And after 2-3 months down the line, I'm still left with the same issue again where I need to replace.
Egyptian high-end food retailer Gourmet plans to sell 47.6% of its shares in February in an initial public offering on the Egypt Stock Exchange. The retailer will sell the shares in private and public offerings pending approvals from the Egyptian Exchange and the Financial Regulatory Authority, with the price based on a book-building process. In a statement, the company said it will use the capital to expand its retail and home delivery networks and manufacturing operations. It now has 21 stores in Egypt. And finally, European countries have been discussing possible retaliatory measures as their dispute with President Donald Trump over Greenland continues. EU leaders will hold an emergency summit on Thursday to discuss imposing their own tariffs if Trump goes ahead with additional taxes. The BBC's Katia Adler has the details.
The EU is considering imposing €93 billion worth of tariffs on the United States, or restricting the access of American companies to the bloc's single market if Donald Trump makes good on his promise to impose tariffs on any country that gets in the way of his takeover of Greenland, a territory of Denmark. The EU's retaliatory measures are being prepared to give Brussels leverage in talks with the US president in Davos this week, where the EU hopes to reach some kind of compromise. France and Germany's finance ministers meet in Berlin today to establish a joint position.
Your financial indicators: one US dollar in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 418. In Botswana is 18 abula 22. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 43. And in Zambia, it's 19 kwacha 89. The BRICS countries: $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 37. Russia is at 78 rubles 56. India is 90 rupees 25. China at 6 yuan 97. And in South Africa, $1 is trading at 16 rand 42. $1 is trading at 74 pence to the British pound and 85 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $4,658 and platinum at $2,357 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $64.14 a barrel. Now, for any stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I'm Nosipho Zuma.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday, 23rd of July for Hard Talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and the whole country affected by gender-based violence. For all your favorite SABC radio stations, call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. The Midnight Snack, 12 to 3 a.m.
Our fitness coach, her name is Yvonne Dimakazo Pasha. How to remain consistent with gyms, Dima, and I'm going to put you on the spot right now. As we are talking, I will send you my picture and I want you to tell me what you think I should work on. Because, you know, when I look at myself, Dima, I think I'm very handsome. I'm so good looking, oh my goodness. Like here at Channel Africa where I work, I think I'm one of the most good-looking people ever. Like sometimes when I look at myself in the mirror, I never get used to how good I look. I'm just amazing.
You're okay with the way you're looking? You wish people could have that from and now you want to put me on the spot.
Do I need gym?
Yeah. I mean, if you can just consider eating healthy, cutting down a few foodstuffs such as junk.
The Midnight Snack, every Monday, 12 to 3 a.m. with Chanduko Ligege. No interruptions, just the music you love on Channel Africa.
Anybody where won't fight you, may they come, they already know. I'll be right beside you, like the wall of Jericho. They don't know, they don't know, they don't know what's going on. Monagiso, my baby boo. I'll be a soldier for you. I'm getting better in Kung Fu. You should know I got it, and you don't need to guide me too. I'll be right beside you in anything that you do. If you ever need saving, I will be running to you, running to you. I'll be running to you, running to you. Anywhere that you go to, running to you. I'll be running to you, running to you. Anywhere that you go to.
When I'm looking for trouble, it's cause I know that I got you. Wanting more best everybody, and it's because of your kung fu. And anytime that I'm out of control, you hold me down. You never let go. Yeah. Munagiso, my baby boo. See all the battles you'll be fighting, and I'll be right there with you. I may be small, but I'm mighty, and I go running for you. And anybody ways I be here, don't be you, pull it, I be around. And if I ever need saving, I'll be running to you.
Running to you. I'll be running to you, running to you. Anywhere that you go to, running to you. I'll be running to you, running to you.
You go there for
anywhere that you go to. You don't need to anything you want.
Sundown to sundown, love me no go round down.
Anytime you come to me, baby, I go answer.
Any other brother, baby, you make them run down.
And if you want me coming to you, I go come to you.
Oh, you wanna see me, baby, don't chase me.
Tell me what you want, baby, say I'm not in my
Moving to a world of African music. This is Channel Africa.
It's Davido featuring Oh Malay. This one is titled With You. Before that, gave you Chike and Simi on this one, Running to You. Let's find out what your thoughts are on this particular conversation. Food noise. You know, as we go through so many conversations, we learn new terms, right? And when you learn a new term, you're like, could this be me? Like, is this something that I'm having? Is this something? And sometimes you realize that someone is expressing something that you've been experiencing this entire time. So if this conversation got you thinking that maybe you are, you have been dealing with a lot of food noise, you're constantly scrolling on the food blogs, you're on Pinterest, on the food page all the time, or you're always thinking, what am I going to eat after this? What am I eating at lunchtime? Especially you guys, I know you, the one who eats your lunchbox before lunchtime at work. So you get there with your lunchbox like, yeah, today I did some food prep, some meal prep, this is amazing. But you're already thinking about the food that you've brought to work before lunchtime has arrived, and you've been nibbling through it. And by the time lunchtime is there, the food is gone. The food is gone, and now you have to go to the cafeteria to get something from there, and you have to find an alternative, or maybe order something online before you eat. That might be food noise that you're dealing with. But I think it's great advice that Lerato Khatebe gave us, saying maybe try and deal with the cause behind the problem first before you go with some, medication that could help you, and only use that as your last resort. It's 11:50 Central Africa time. This is On The Move. Keep the conversations going on our WhatsApp line, +27 83 288 6684.
Madapiri Bazoshitika. Madapiri Bazoshitika.
Madotolo oposa 1,500 amene amagwira ntchito yaulere mu zipatala zaboma mdziko la Zambia azanyanyala ntchito lachisanu sabata ya mawa, ndipo Daniel Shabanda kutambasula nkhani.
Madotolo oposa 1,500 amene amagwira ntchito mopanda malipiro apamwezi dziko la Zambia akuyembekezera kuyamba kunyanyala ntchito. Ichi ndi chifukwa chakuti boma lalephera walemba ntchito monga mmene lidawalonjezera. Channel Africa News yalankhulana ndi mkulu wa bungwe la madotolo la Resident Doctors Association of Zambia, Dr. Paul Chiwe. Akugomeza kuti madotolo ambiri amene akugwira ntchito mu zipatala zaboma akugwira ntchito yaulere, ndipo ali ndi chiyembekezo chakuti tsiku lina adzalembedwa ntchito ndi boma.
Zochitika pa nthawi ya 6 koloko kufikira 7 koloko madzulo. Lolemba mpaka lachisanu ndi Madapiri.
#On The Move and connect with us.
We have Lulu Gabu here to let us know what's coming up on today's Africa Update. That's after the show, On The Move from 12 p.m. Central Africa time. Good morning, Lulu.
Good morning. How are you today?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. Good weekend?
Yeah, not too bad.
Not too bad. Okay, great. Right, a lot coming up in Africa Update. We are going to be focusing on Uganda, the results. Bobby Wine saying that he's not happy. He's been harassed since the elections and the election results. So a lot to unpack on that front. We're going to be speaking to Richard Kamya, who is a coordinator for the National Unity Platform, the official NUP chapter in South Africa. So we'll unpack exactly what they were hoping for and what this means going forward for the people of Uganda. And then also some provinces in South Africa have been declared disaster areas due to flooding and wildfires. So a lot is happening on the ground in the country. And this is across South Africa. We've seen loss of lives, and it is impacting a lot of families. The president has been sort of crisscrossing the country, going to different parts of the country where there has been a crisis. So all that and more coming up on Africa Update today.
Thank you, Lulu. We're looking forward to that. That's the Africa Update from 12 to 1 p.m. Central Africa time, right here on Channel Africa.
My mood, try me, come find out. One more time, reasons that you gotta. You say love me, you ain't put me Chanel. You say love me, you ain't put me Chanel. You say love me, you ain't put me Chanel. You say love me, you ain't put me Chanel. You say love me, you ain't put me Chanel. Say love me, you ain't put me Chanel. I'm a big dog baby and a dog baby, self-made bitch, yeah. You ain't upgrade me, waistline crazy, man, don't chase me. Say you want see me, where you gonna take me? You say love me, you ain't put me Chanel. Say love me, put me Chanel. Walking standing tall, but still fall for me. You come in with baggage, it's costing me. Still don't have it all, but give it all to me. Come and turn me on, but go off for me. No, yeah, with me. Baby, I'm a D&D. Please don't bother me. AP, no VV. Flawless diamond dust. Yeah, you gotta make me freeze. Reasons that you gotta. You say love me, you ain't put me Chanel. You say love me, you ain't put me Chanel. You say love me, you ain't put me Chanel. You say love me, you ain't put me Chanel. You say love me, you ain't put me Chanel. Say love me, put me Chanel. I'm a big dog baby and a dog baby, self-made bitch, yeah. You ain't upgrade me, waistline crazy, man, don't chase me. Say you want see me, where you gonna take me? You say love me, you ain't put me Chanel. Say love me, put me Chanel.
It's Tyler. This one is titled Chanel, and it's the one taking us out from On the Move for today. Thank you so much for coming through to hang out with us. Don't forget that it's not over. You can still stay here on Channel Africa. The Africa update is coming up. So join us on channelafrica.co.za, on DSTV 802, OpenView 628, and of course, the brand new Channel Africa app. Have yourself a fantastic day. We'll be back to tomorrow.
Up with the weights, I work. Down with the pack, I roll. Up with the sack, and you know that I deserve it. Half and half from we split the perks. Yeah, the preacher man said, please remember that your savior's on the way. I still remember when the teacher man said, I wouldn't make it, but I made it anyway.
I remember say it wasn't easy. Right now, everything is amazing. Steady dropping them low.